But I'm going to kick off first, and some people would have noticed this and some probably didn't, but when you walked into the room, some people had little items underneath their chairs. Can I get you to look if you haven't noticed and pick up if you do have something underneath it?
It looks like a bag of illegal contraband.
Well, actually, I saw it. I thought,
You must have shared that around.
Alrighty, there should be 3 people that have like sandwich bags. Does anyone have a sandwich bag? If you have, can I get you guys to stand up for me? And can you please read out what it says on the bag, one by one? Bottle flake.
Tidal waste yarn.
Yep. Chip. Thanks, guys. You can sit down. All of these 3 items play a significant role in the next range that I'm going to show you guys. But before I get into that, I'm just going to show you a quick video. And this video is all about the life cycle of a plastic bottle.
This is the story of 3 plastic bottles, empty and discarded. Their journeys are about to diverge, with outcomes that impact nothing less than the fate of the planet. But they weren't always this way. To understand where these bottles end up, we must first explore their origins. The heroes of our story were conceived in this oil refinery. The plastic in their bodies was formed by chemically bonding oil and gas molecules together to make monomers. In turn, these monomers were bonded into long polymer chains to make plastic, in the form of millions of pellets. Those were melted at manufacturing plants and reformed in molds to create the resilient material that makes up the triplets' bodies. Machines filled the bottles with sweet, bubbly liquid, and they were then wrapped, shipped, bought, opened, consumed, and unceremoniously discarded. And now here they lie, poised at the edge of the unknown. Bottle 1, like hundreds of millions of tons of its plastic brethren, ends up in a landfill. This huge dump expands each day as more trash comes in and continues to take up space. As plastics sit there being compressed amongst layers of other junk, rainwater flows through the waste and absorbs the water-soluble compounds it contains, and some of those are highly toxic. Together, they create a harmful stew called leachate, which can move into groundwater, soil, and streams, poisoning ecosystems and harming wildlife. It can take bottle 1 an agonizing 1,000 years to decompose. Bottle 2's journey is stranger, but unfortunately no happier. He floats on a trickle that reaches a stream that flows into a river, and a river that reaches the ocean. After months lost at sea, he's slowly drawn into a massive vortex where trash accumulates, a place known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Here, the ocean's currents have trapped millions of pieces of plastic debris. This is one of 5 plastic-filled gyres in the world's seas, places where the pollutants turn the water into a cloudy plastic soup. Some animals, like seabirds, get entangled in the mess. They and others mistake the brightly colored plastic bits for food. Plastic makes them feel full when they're not, so they starve to death and pass the toxins from the plastic up the food chain. For example, it's eaten by lanternfish. The lanternfish are eaten by squid. The squid are eaten by tuna, and the tuna are eaten by us. And most plastics don't biodegrade, which means they're destined to break down into smaller and smaller pieces called microplastics, which might rotate in the sea eternally. But Bottle 3 is spared the cruel purgatories of his brothers. A truck brings him to a plant where he and his companions are squeezed flat and compressed into a block. Okay, this sounds pretty bad too, but hang in there, it gets better. The blocks are shredded into tiny pieces, which are washed and melted so they become the raw materials that can be used again. As if by magic, Bottle 3 is now ready to be reborn as something completely new. For this bit of plastic with such humble origins, suddenly the sky is the limit.
Okie dokie. here. So main points of the video showed that if we don't recycle our bottles the right way, this can harm our environment quite significantly. But when we do, they allow them to be put through a process that allows us to make new materials with it. And the 3 items that were being held up before, and if you want to pass them around, that were in the funny looking sandwich bag, this is the bottle that then gets produced into yarn. So you've got your bottle flake that then gets converted into a chip and then reproduced into fibre waste, which then gets shredded and made into yarn. The range that I have on display here, Greenview, is made from 100% plastic bottles, and 1 square metre equals to 4 post-consumer bottles, which I think is pretty amazing. So today we'll be launching to you guys 2 ranges made from plastic bottles. The first one is a semi-transparent, non-metallised sunscreen, and the other one is a metallised sunscreen. So I'm going to kick off with the semi-transparent first. And I'm going to pass this around because I want you guys to really feel and touch this product. This is really different to any other sunscreen we have. And the main point of difference is not just the texture, but it's also that matte finish when you compare it to, those other types of plasticky sunscreens. And it allows the blind to sit beautifully, as you can see, on our light rise roller here. So this will be available in 6 colours, and they're all on-trend colours. So a range of whites, you've got some charcoals, some peppered stone. So it will really match to any decoration style. But obviously, like I said before, the main point of difference is that matte finish. If you were to pick up any of our competitors' sunscreens and look at the 100% polyester, it's got a real shiny look to it. Ours doesn't. And then we've got the metallised version. So this will be available in 4 colours. The real key point of difference here is the fact that it's halogen free. So consumers these days are obviously becoming a little bit more aware of sustainability, and this really puts that product up there for that, the high-end residential market. Because sometimes you will have, either architects or designers kind of come to you and say, hey, we're really looking for that eco-friendly option. It's also got really good solar optical properties in terms of reflectance. So, if people are looking for something to put on those big alfresco doors where the sun beams in, that they want to reduce the amount of heat coming in, this is your perfect option. Best thing about this is that it's at classic pricing. So your semi-transparent, non-metallised will be sitting at ultra-weave pricing, and then your metallised version is sitting about 10% above that. This will be launching as of the 4th of September. Yes?
Widths, fabric widths?
Yes, so the really good thing about this is the fact that it can actually be railroaded. So you can go, so your normal width without it railroaded is 2.7 for non-metallised, and for metallised is 2.35, but then obviously you can go out to 3.3 with it being railroaded. So moving away from internals, I'm going to touch base on external sunscreens. Last year, you guys would recall, we launched a whole brand new range. So we had 2 new openness options. We moved away from 10%, one with 5 and 1. The 1%, funny enough, is actually 20% of our volume now, which was quite interesting for us. We knew it would do well, but we didn't think it would do that well. So that's really at the middle of its life cycle at the moment, and we think we will see a little bit more of it. But what we did is when we launched this range, we looked at 2 well-known brands, so Dulux and Colorbond, because we wanted to know if consumers are looking for those colours that they can coordinate with. So with the 13 colours that we have, and 7 of them being inspired by those colours, 75% of our volume is actually in those colours. So we knew that obviously our customers are looking for that. So to keep the momentum running, we're going to actually introduce 4 more colours for you guys. So we went back to the drawing board, we spoke to some of our customers, we re-looked at our Colorbond ranks, as well as Dulux, to see if there was anything in our range that we didn't have that we could add. And there was 2 colours that popped up. First one being Jasper, which we're going to call Mood Rocker. So Jasper's inspiration is all about, the aging of large, gum trees, the bark on it, to the sand plains and the shadows that you see on it, all the way out to the outcrops of the Australian coast. And then the second colour was Deep Ocean, which we're going to call Sorrento. So this is a conservative colour, but yet really appealing because it mimics all the different, blues that we see in our Australian ocean, but also the haze that we see over the mountains, and we're lucky enough to see that when you look it out the window. But what was most interesting for me while we were doing all the research is that we found that depending on what state you look at, Colorbond and Dulux colours ranks change. And a really good example to use is Victoria. So Victoria do well in contemporary, but they actually do better in your classic colours. So our Yalumba, which is classic cream, and Chardonnay, which is our paper bark. So we're also going to beef that range up and add 2 more colours to that, which is caramel and sand. And the reasoning for that is, you know, obviously in Victoria they have a little bit more of those traditional and heritage style homes, which is, you know, consumers are looking for these colours. And caramel here is on display on Kevin's Evo that you can see. So now, when you look at our range, out of 17 colours, 11 of our colours all tie in with the most popular Dulux and Colorbond colours. So why use Everscreen? It's mildew and fungi resistant, which means it's easy to clean and maintain. You've got a range of on-trend colours, but a range of colours that also coordinate with, you know, all of Kevin's awning hardware stuff, giving our customers the ultimate package, not just in terms of colour, but also function. And the fact that all of our colours score 7 and above on the blue scales, which, you know, means no fading in the sun, and it's pretty much the best of the best. But all the other specs obviously still remain the same, so, you know, your 2x2, and these 4 colours will be introduced in a 5% openness only.